Oh yeah, then sambal samde tashi dele to shya.
Okay, so greetings everyone, and we will start straight away with giving an answer. We had one question. The question was about the order of the four immeasurables. So usually when we recite the four immeasurables, we do immeasurable love, immeasurable compassion, immeasurable joy, and immeasurable equanimity. So equanimity is the one that comes last in the list in the usual recitation. However, in the last session, when Geshe was explaining this, we started with immeasurable equanimity first. So there seem to be two systems. In one system, equanimity comes last. In the other system is the first thing we deal with. So why do we have such a difference? Now, the answer to that is that the explanation that we gave in the previous session, where we started with immeasurable equanimity, is actually following the order of presentation that we have in the easy path. And in the easy path, we follow this sequence of training ourselves. And what we recognize is that from my side, I have partiality. From my side, I seem to favor those who are close to me, and I am distant to others that I consider to be not pleasant or important to me. So in order to begin training myself for my own training, the first thing I have to do is to establish equanimity. Now, immediately after that, I have to meditate on love and compassion, wishing that sentient beings have happiness, wishing that they be free from suffering. But if I do not establish the basis of equanimity first, my love and my compassion will be partial, will not be encompassing, or it will not be focusing on all sentient beings. So to avoid this pitfall, for my own training, the first thing that I have to do is to establish equanimity. Okay, when I am reciting in general the four immeasurables, where I'm thinking about other sentient beings, then I follow a different order. I'm thinking about others and I'm thinking, may they be free from suffering, may they have happiness, may they always have joy, and may they experience equanimity. So if that is the case, when it is for the sake of others, I'm thinking about others, equanimity comes at the last. When it is my training, it comes first. Okay, so we are in the section where we have to establish the field of accumulation. If you look at the actual root text that we are following, it says, then contemplate again the merit field from, in the space in front of you, a vast and high throne lifted by 8 big snow lions. Upon it is a variegated lotus, moon, and sun disk seat, and upon it is seated my kind root guru in the form of Buddha Shakyamuni. He is of luminescent gold hue until he is sitting in the cross-legged position. Okay, so obviously, you know, here we are going still through the preliminaries, the 6 preliminaries. We have done the first one, which is to clean the room and arrange representations of body, speech, and mind. We have done the second one, which is to beautifully arrange offerings that we have obtained in an honest manner. And we covered the third one. The third one was to sit in a comfortable seat in the appropriate posture. And then from within a special frame of mind, go for refuge, go for bodhicitta, then meditate on the 4 immeasurables, and then also engage the special bodhicitta. We have finished this, and now we come to the next one, the 4th one, which is the visualization of the field of accumulation. So as you can see here, we have a very similar recitation or visualization. In the space in front of me, I have a very vast throne. And in this throne, I have a 3-tier seat of lotus, moon, and seat. And upon that is the root guru. He has the aspect of Guru Shakyamuni, and he has a golden hue complexion and so forth. Okay, so as you can see here, we begin with a description of the main figure. We are now doing the field of accumulation, but as the text indicates, we are just repeating a section, the section of the visualization that we have with the objects of refuge. So the main figure as we say, upon the variegated lotus on a moon and a seed disc, is my kind root guru. But he has the aspect of Buddha Shakyamuni. His complexion or his whole body is gold, but we have to understand that it is extremely pure gold, and it's luminescent, and it's radiating with this gold hue. The head has the ground protrusion. His right hand touches the earth, and the left one is in the mudra of equipoise. And on top of the left hand in the mudra of equipoise, there is the begging bowl that is filled with nectar. He's clad in the 3 saffron robes. He's adorned with the major and the minor robes marks of the Buddha, and he's in the nature of radiant light. He's sitting cross-legged position in a halo of bright light coming out of his body. Okay. Further, he's surrounded by the lineage of the root gurus, the Yidams, Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, the Akinis, and so forth. Oh no, he's up to the cross-legged position. Okay, then if you go back to page number 3, we continue the visualization, and it says, in the space above and behind the main figure, on a seat of variegated lotus, moon, and sun disk, sits Buddha Vajradhara. Buddha Vajradhara is surrounded by the lineage masters of the blessed practice. At the right of the main figure is Venerable Maitreya, surrounded by the lineage masters of the vast contact. And at the left is Venerable Manjushri, surrounded by the lineage masters of the profound view. In the front of the main figure is the kind root guru, surrounded by all the masters from whom we have received teachings directly. They are surrounded by Yidams, Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Dakas, Dakinis, and the supramundane Dharma protectors. Okay, so we have the figures here arranged. Then it says, in front of each of them sits a beautiful table, and on it are the luminous texts whose essence is their respective speciality teaching, the scriptural Dharma. So each one of those figures is teaching Dharma, and the Dharma that they are teaching has taken the aspect of a volume of text. Again, it is described as being luminous or radiating light. Then it says, to the farther side of all of them, in the 10 directions, there are inconceivable emanations displayed by the main figure and by his entourage in order to tame beings. So we have to see that from the main figure and all the surrounded other figures, rays of light emanate, and they send out emanations. These emanations are exactly according to the needs of those to be trained. So for those who are hungry and thirsty, they emanate as food and drink. For those who are sick, they emanate as medicine. For those who are destitute, who are homeless, they emanate as structures where they can take refuge. For those who need someone to lead them in the path, they appear as a guide for the path. So whatever sentient beings need, they send out that particular aspect of emanation. Okay, so we were at the point where we visualized the main figure and the figures of the retinue, and we say around them there are all these various emanations that are sent out in order to take care exactly of the specific needs of different trainees. So you have to visualize the merit field, the field of accumulation, as being very busy and very active. Just as you would have a scene in the king's palace where you have many people working there with different tasks coming and going and, you know, being animated. So similarly, the field of accumulation is very busy, is very active with all these emanations coming and going and performing different activities for the sake of sentient beings. Okay, then we continue with the visualization. At the crown of the main figure and all the figures of the entourage is a white syllable Om. So the white syllable Om represents the mirror-like wisdom and Buddha Vairochana. At the throat is the red syllable A, which represents the wisdom of individual analysis, and Buddha Amitabha. at the heart, sorry, they have the blue syllable hum. The blue syllable hum represents the Buddha Akshobhya. At the navel, they have the yellow syllable Sva, which represents the pristine wisdom of equality, and Buddha Ratnasambhava. And at the secret place, they have the green syllable Ha. The green syllable Ha represents the pristine wisdom of establishing activities, and Buddha Amoghasiddhi. Okay, so then it says 5 rays of light are radiated from this. Light from the syllable Hum at the heart of Guru Buddha is radiated in the 10 directions. It invites the wisdom beings from their natural abode. So their natural abode here is considered to be the Dharma body. And when it says it invites the wisdom beings, it invites the wisdom beings who have the nature of the 5 types of pristine wisdom and are endowed with the 3 types of body. So it invites the wisdom beings from the natural abodes, and they absorb into each of the commitment beings and imagine that they have become the embodiment of all objects of refuge. So all of these are invited, and the collection of all this dissolves in each one of the commitment or samaya beings. So once we have absorbed each one of those into the samaya beings, we imagine that the samaya or the commitment beings have become the embodiment of all objects of refuge. At this point, if you have time, it is very good to offer the bath. So the bath ceremony is another ritual that we do here, and actually it does make a lot of difference in terms of progressing. It helps us very well purify things and progress along the stages of the path. It is only if time permits it and you can fit it in, you can do it here. Geshe says we don't have the time to elaborate on this practice, so we will continue. So then we continue with the next one, and the next one is the 5th of the 6 preliminaries, which is making the 7 limb prayer and the mandala offering that are complete in all the crucial points of accumulation and purification. So if you follow the root text, where it says, after offering the 7 limbs prayer and the mandala, makes applications. So obviously we're doing 7 limb prayers from here. So the 7 limb prayers are prostration, making offerings, offering a confession, rejoicing, requesting to turn the wheel of Dharma, requesting not to pass into paranirvana, and dedicating. Okay, we begin with the first one, which is the limp of prostration. So at this point, especially if you're doing the practice privately, it is very good to get up and start prostrating. So before you do any prostrations, recite 3 times the mantra of prostration, Om Namo Manjushri, Namo Shushri, Namo Mutamashri Shoha. And then begin doing your prostrations by reciting the Sutra of Confession. Okay, now who are we prostrating to? So make sure that definitely you visualize the 37 Buddhas of confession in front of us, the 8 medicine Buddhas, all other Buddhas, and every representation of body, speech, and mind of Buddhas that exist in this universe. So basically, it is very important to establish this very elaborate visualization. You're prostrating to countless objects who are worthy of prostration. Then, as you are prostrating, it is very good if you can multiply your bodies. So don't just prostrate with one single body, but prostrate with hundreds, thousands of bodies. So multiply your bodies. Do this visualization. As you are prostrating, it is very good to prostrate with strong faith. And you do that by recalling the qualities of the objects that you have in front of you. So just think that from the very beginning, they generated the mind of bodhicitta for the sake of sentient beings. In the middle, they spent a very long period, 3 countless great eons, building up their accumulation. And at the end, they obtained that state of the 3 bodies where all the qualities, they have perfected the qualities of body, speech, mind, and enlightened activities. So just bringing into mind those incredible qualities that they possess, it is very good to, it helps you very much to generate the first type of faith that is called the lucid faith. Now, together with that, you should have the firm conviction that these objects of refuge are not going to deceive you in any way. So they are non-deceptive objects of refuge. And that allows you to develop the second type of faith, which is the faith of conviction. The third one is the aspiring faith. And aspiring faith is when you generate the mind in your thought that says, before long, it would be wonderful if I also develop these types of qualities. So with the 3 types of faith present within your mind stream, prostrate with immeasurable bodies in front of immeasurable objects of refuge. And at the same time, imagine that you are surrounded by all sentient beings and that they also follow your example and they're also prostrating. So, okay, so when we do the prostrations, they say that if you can combine the 4 countless elements, then you will accumulate incredible merit. So what are those 4 countless elements? You are doing the prostration for the sake of countless sentient beings. You're doing the prostration in front of countless holy objects. You're doing the prostrations with countless bodies. And each one of your countless bodies is performing countless prostrations, all right? So for the sake of countless sentient beings in front of countless objects with countless bodies and each body countless prostrations. So if you prostrate in this way with the 4 countless, the merit you accumulate will be massive. Okay, so we have explained a few things about prostrations. There is quite a lot to say about prostration, but I think that will be enough for tonight. If you have any more questions or specific doubts about questions, please ask about prostrations, please ask questions to follow this up. Okay, so the first one is done. The second one is making offerings. So in terms of offerings, we can categorize the offerings as surpassable and unsurpassable offerings. Unsurpassable offerings referring to the offering of emptiness. So anything that is not an offering of your realization of emptiness is surpassable. Okay, so what are those surpassable offerings? Now remember in the second one of the preliminaries where we say that after you have cleaned the room and so forth, you arrange very beautifully whatever offerings you have obtained without any conceit. Okay, so here we're talking about the ordinary offerings. Now, they can be actual offerings and they can be imagined offerings. So, for example, you can put out the 2 types of water, flowers and incense and light and perfume and food. You can put music. You can put the 5 objects that are enjoyed by the senses. You can put out the auspicious substances and so on and so forth. So there is a great variety of things that you could be offering at this point. Again, we make a distinction in terms of offerings, the offerings that you yourself possess and offerings that do not belong to any particular individual. They naturally exist out there, so you can offer those things as well. So imagine here a very plentiful, immaculate array of offerings that you arrange either actually or mentally, and you present this to the field of accumulation. Okay, so as we make the offerings, we have to imagine that the objects who are the recipients of our offerings, they actually perceive those offerings, they are very pleased, and they generate a new experience of joy and bliss within their mind stream. That is very important. Okay, so usually what we do is that we arrange water bowls, and we offer water within those bowls. So when we offer the water, we have to imagine that the water has special qualities, and although it has the nature of water, it takes the aspects of the different offering substances. And it's a great benefit, it's a great way of making offerings this way, because usually we don't have great attachment to water. Water is something which is very easy to obtain, and therefore we're not holding back. We can be very generous with our water offerings. So also the water, because it's going to be clean and pristine and all that, symbolizes that we will remove our negativity. And because it has that reflective surface, it's also a reference to our developing our realization of emptiness. So there are a few benefits with the water offerings. So by offering different substances here, actually we symbolize a few things. We talked about offering the water, but we also offer incense, and the incense that we offer is in order to create auspicious interdependence, that our ethics will be strong. We offer the butter lamp or the light in order to increase our wisdom, so that we can develop all the realizations and all the qualities of the grounds and paths. We offer different types of eatables, different type of food, in order to develop the body, the precious body that we want to develop, and so forth. So there's always symbolism behind all those substances that we offer. Now remember, with the offerings, you always think that they are very beautiful, immaculate, and very expansive, abundant offerings. And when the objects who receive those offerings see that we offer such substances, they generate joy, and on the basis of that joy, they're very pleased. They generate uncontaminated bliss. So it's very important to keep these points in mind. So we have spoken about surpassable offerings, and now we have to talk about the unsurpassable offerings. So the unsurpassable offerings are what are usually referred to as Samandabhadra offerings, and there are two explanations. There is one explanation according to Sutra and one explanation according to Tantra. So the actual expression is clouds of Samandabhadra offerings. Okay, so Samandabhadra is one of the 8 bodhisattvas, and of course between the bodhisattvas there's no difference that one is better than the other and the other one has more qualities than the other. They are equal in their qualities. However, each one of them has a specific feature, or it was very well known for one specific quality. So for example, Vajrapani is exceptionally known for his powers. Avalokiteshvara is exceptionally known for his affection. And the Sarva Nirvana Viskambini is exceptionally known for removing obscurations. Akashagarpa is exceptionally known for the stability that he brings. And Samantabhadra is very well known for his offerings. So we say here that we are making offerings that are like clouds of Samantabhadra offerings. So according to the sutric presentation, we have Samantabhadra, and for each pore of his body, we visualize that 100 rays of light emanate. And on each one of those 100 rays of light, at the tip of this ray is another Samantabhadra. And from each one of those Samantabhadras, again, 100 rays of light emanate. And each one of them is holding in their hands a jewel. So you can imagine that you're creating a lattice of rays of light with these figures of Samantabhadra that completely illuminate the whole space. So this type of visualization of one figure emanating from every pore, 100, again 100 and 100, that's the Samantabhadra cloud. Okay, so now we have to look at the clouds of Samantabhadra offerings from the point of view of Tantra, and that refers to non-dual, the pristine wisdom of non-dual bliss and emptiness, that pristine wisdom itself is taking the aspect of every type of offering. So there's a difference between the sutric and the tantric one. Okay, so now from the 7 limbs, we have covered the first one. The first one was making prostrations. The second one was making offerings. The third one is confession. So when we talk about confession, in order to be powerful enough and to purify negativity must include the 4 opponent powers. Those 4 opponent powers are the opponent power of the basis, and that includes refuge and bodhicitta. Then the second one is the opponent power of repudiation. The third one is the opponent power of fully applying the antidote. And the fourth one is the opponent power of restraining in the future. Okay, so in terms of the negativity that we want to confess, we consider that we have engaged in the 10 non-virtuous actions, and also there are many faults in terms of keeping properly the 3 sets of vows. And these are the vows of individual liberation, the bodhisattva vows, and the tantric vows that we possess. So considering all the negativity we have created, not just the 10 non-virtuous actions, but all these related to the 3 sets of vows, we realize that unless now I confess and purify all this, what awaits in front of me is the hells. If I don't confess it, I will not purify it. If I don't purify it, I will have to experience this incredible suffering of the hells. Therefore, I must purify it. Up to now, I didn't understand well what was proper and what was improper. But due to the kindness of my gurus, I have come to understand that I have made all this mistake. So now I will go for refuge. I will seek refuge in those who are proper objects of refuge and the advice they give me, because I need to remove all the suffering and its causes. And this thought is going for refuge. And then you say, for the sake of all sentient beings, I aspire to reach the state of Buddhahood. And to do this, I must confess and purify all my negativity. So with this one, we generate bodhicitta and we have a strong regret. So you can see that by thinking along this way, we actually cover the first one, which is the power of the basis with refuge and bodhicitta. And with a strong regret, we also cover the second one, which is the power of repudiation. Okay, so we continue now with the third of those opposing powers, which is the power of always applying the antidote. So here the antidote is that we are reciting the text for the confession, and we are reciting the names of the 35 Buddhas, and as we do that, we're also prostrating. Another means of an antidote is to do the 100-syllable mantra of Vajrasattva, meditate on emptiness, meditate on bodhicitta. All those things are quite powerful antidotes. So this gives you an idea of what you can do in terms of the antidote. And the last one, the fourth of the opposing powers, is the power of refrain. So here you must have a very strong sense of regret, and you say, from now on, come what may, even if my life is in danger, I will not repeat this type of activity again. So this is how our confession can be complete in all four opponent powers. They say that if all four of them are present, then any negativity, every negativity, even the negativity that would result, negativity of the 5 heinous crimes, even that can be purified. So it's very powerful if it is complete. However, if the 4 opponent powers are not complete in your confession, then obviously the confession is not as effective, is not as powerful. Okay, so we have done prostration, we have done the offerings, we have done the confession, and we move into the next one, which is to rejoice. Okay, so before we move into rejoicing, a little bit more information about the last one, which is the power of restraint. So with the power of restraint, it's very good to think that I have created with very strong regret, right? So you're confessing here and you say, since beginningless time, I have created so much negativity and downfalls. Now I come in your presence, in front of your eyes, you who know everything and you are non-deceptive, and I'm confessing all this. Please bless me. So that in the future, I will definitely be able to refrain from these activities, even at the cost of my life. Please bless me to remain on course and refrain from these type of activities again. And then with such a strong sense of regret and with this promise, this determination never to do those things again, you have to understand that, you know, this purification occurs for you, but also imagine that occurs for all other sentient beings as well that surround you. So it's very good to do the practice in this, you know, proper and also elaborate way. So with the fourth of the 7 limbs, we have rejoicing. And as Geshe Rinpoche has said, if you want to easily, without much effort, build up your accumulation, then you need to rejoice. So it says here, easily, without having to try very hard, it's very good to rejoice for any virtue you yourself have done, but also in the virtue of others. So it's a very good technique for easily building up your accumulation. So just consider any virtue you or others have done over the 3 times, and any size of virtue, whether it is a small or significant virtue, and rejoice for that. So we rejoice with our body, with our speech, and our mind. With the way that we rejoice, or an expression of rejoicing with our body, is that we put the palms of our hands together. It's like, oh, how good. You hear about something and you say, that's great. With your speech, you praise that activity, you praise that person. And with your mind, you have that incredible sense of joy. So rejoicing is there to overcome our jealousy and our competitiveness. So physically, verbally, praise, and mentally just have that joy for this activity. Okay, So from the 7 limbs, we have covered the first 4, which is prostrate, make offerings, confessing, and rejoicing. The 5th one is requesting them to turn the wheel of Dharma. So here is very good if you can make a mandala offering. If you make a mandala offering, you put 9 heaps of grains or whatever is the material in your mandala. So you put 1 in the center, you put 1 in the 4 cardinal directions and 1 in the intermediate directions. So you put 9 heaps in the mandala, but you visualize this as a 1,000-spoke wheel. Right? So you're offering this. And at the same time, you visualize yourself as Brahma. And now you're going to multiply yourself as Brahma and send out as many Brahma emanations as there are figures in the field of accumulation. So each one of those Brahmas individually is making a request to each figure of the field of accumulation. And you say, please, I request you to turn the wheel of Dharma and to continuously, uninterruptedly give teachings to me and all sentient beings, so that all sentient beings will experience this unsurpassable happiness through your offerings. Imagine that the objects of the field of accumulation are very pleased with your request, and they send down nectar, and this nectar is like a rain of Dharma that falls uninterruptedly as a response of your request. We continue with the next one, which is the 6th of the 7 limbs, which is making the request not to pass into paranirvana. So here you make 4 heaps with the grains of your mandala. So you put 1 at the center and then 1 each in the 4 cardinal directions. And now you imagine that you establish a very vast throne. It is supported by lions, and on this throne you pile up all the possessions, all the enjoyment, and all your root of virtue that takes a physical aspect of yourself and all other sentient beings. And you say, I offer this to all of you. Again, you're sending many emanations, for 1 emanation for each one of the objects of the field of accumulation, and requesting each one of them to please remain for eons upon eons without withdrawing their presence, without withdrawing their physical body, so that the body remain immutable like the Vajra, for the sake of each and every sentient being, emanating and acting according to the individual needs of each sentient being, until every sentient being accomplishes the final result. So request them and say, remain for eons upon eons without deterioration, without passing into paranirvana. And due to your respect, again, your request, again, you imagine that they are very pleased. We lost a little bit of sound there, but that's right. We continue with the last one. The last one, the 7th, is dedication. So now you, with a very strong aspiration, you dedicate all your virtue, such as, for example, the virtue that you have accumulated through the previous 6 of those limbs, right? So all the virtue of yourself and all other sentient beings that have been created over the 3 times, very strongly you say, I dedicate this to become a cause for the supreme enlightenment. So with strong aspiration, that's the dedication. There are different types of dedications that we can do, but Lama Tsongkhapa has said that actually there are 3 types of dedications that are considered to be excellent. So the first one is to dedicate so that we can uphold the teachings. The teachings will remain for a long time. The second one is that we will be taken care of by our gurus. And the third one is we dedicate towards supreme enlightenment. So as following the example of Lama Tsongkhapa, it will be excellent if we dedicate for any of those three things or all three combined. Okay, so we have gone through this this one of the preliminaries, so it says to do the 7 limb prayers and the mandala offerings that are complete in all the crucial points. When we look at the 7 limbs, which again are the limb of prostration, of making offerings, confession, rejoicing, requesting for teachings, requesting not to pass into paranirvana, and dedication, when we look at this list, we can actually identify how we accumulate certain things and how we purify other things. So with the first one, which is prostration, what we purify is our pride. And what we accumulate is the causes to have the crown protrusion in the future. With the second one, which is the offerings, we purify our miserliness and we create the causes so that when we become Buddhas, we will have those inexhaustible resources. Okay, we continue with the next one, which is the limb of confession. With the limb of confession, we purify the 3 poisons and we accumulate the causes so that when we reach the state of enlightenment in that Buddha field, we will be able to carry out enlightened activities without being impeded by any type of obscuration. With the next one, which is the, did I say confession? With confession, we purify the 3 poisons and we are able to perform all activities. Okay, sorry. With the next one, which is rejoicing, we purify jealousy. And we accumulate the causes so that in the pure field of a Buddha, we will have a body that is extremely charismatic. There is no blemish or no ugliness that would appear in that body. Then the next one is requesting to turn the wheel of Dharma. When we do this, we purify negativity that comes from our confusion and also from abandoning the Dharma. And we create the causes to establish this specific quality of the speech of the Buddha that has the 60 melodious qualities of the Brahma voice. With the next one, requesting the Buddhas not to pass into paranirvana, we purify negativity that comes from disturbing the mind of the guru or disparaging, criticizing the guru, and so forth. And in terms of the things that we obtain, we accumulate the causes to obtain the Vajra body. We accumulate the causes so that our gurus will have a long life. And also we come to know how we ourselves will have a long life. We come to the last one, the 7th one is dedication. With dedication, we remove anger or jealousy from the mind, and we create the causes so that our virtue will not decrease, will not go to waste. Basically, we guarantee that it will increase. So we said that the 7 limbs actually put together, they act in different ways. They can help us build up our accumulation, they can help us purify, and also they can help us increase virtue so that virtue does not go to waste, does not go backwards. So if we look at this list of 7, 4 of them, or you could say 4.5, they build up our accumulation. So when we make prostration, when we make offerings, when we are rejoicing is the half, rejoicing for others, right? And when we are requesting to turn the wheel of Dharma and requesting not to pass into paranirvana, we are building up our accumulation. When we're doing the confession, with the confession we're purifying adverse conditions, negativity and obscuration. Then we are left with half of the rejoicing, which is rejoicing at our own virtue. And this has an increasing effect. And finally, we have the dedication, and the dedication also has an increasing effect in the sense that it will not allow for virtue to go to waste. So you see 7 limb prayers, they will help you accumulate, they will help you purify, and they will help you increase without losing or wasting anything. Okay, so if we look at what we are trying to achieve, right? We try to generate realizations and we try to generate qualities. And those things come from building up our accumulation. At the same time, we're trying to remove negativities. So it is very important that we constantly work on those 2 aspects, the aspect of building up accumulation and purifying and removing negativity. And it is said that any root of virtue that we create falls into these 2 categories. There is no root of virtue that you could create that somehow does not fall in the category of accumulation and does not fall in the category of purification. It has to belong, it has to be categorized in any of these 2. So you can see actually with this list of the 7 limbs, we have one which is the limb of confession, and this takes care of purification, removing things that we don't want to have. And basically the other 6, they are working towards our accumulation. So that's why we describe this one and says, engage in the 7 limb prayer that is complete in all the main points of accumulation and purification. Now, the thing is that we categorize them as, techniques for building up your accumulation or methods for performing your purification. However, when you're purifying, you're also accumulating. And when you are accumulating, you're also purifying. So this division, this classification that this is accumulation and this is purification, is kind of like, it's only from the point of view of how we organize our practice. Otherwise, you need to understand when you are accumulating, this also works as a purification. And when you're purifying, this is also an accumulation. Okay, so as you can see here from the 6 preparatory rights, we have covered 5 of them. So we have done how to clean the room and arrange in the altar representations of the body, speech, and mind of the Buddha. The second one, to beautifully arrange offerings that you have obtained without any conceit. The third one, assuming the Vairochana posture, and from within a very virtuous state of mind, go for refuge and bodhicitta and meditate on the 4 immeasurables. The next one, the 5th one that we covered today, was how to engage in the 7 limb prayers and the mandala offering that are complete in the main points, all the main points of accumulation and purification. So we have done 5 out of 6, and Geshe would like to stop the teaching for today. We have plenty of time for questions and answers now, so please come forward with your questions. Okay, so the question is about relying on the teacher, and the advice that we have is that when you rely on the teacher, you have to cultivate the attitude of seeing the teacher as a Buddha. But the question is that in general, this is difficult. More specific, if you have come to know this teacher for many years, you develop a closer relationship, or you see them almost like a member of your family, like a friend. And the more you see them as a friend or as a member of your family, the harder it is to see the Guru as a Buddha. So that's the question, how do we overcome this? Okay, so there was a second part to the question. Like the first part is describing how you have become a bit familiar with the Lama. And now we come in a situation where, let's say, you're doing a mundane activity and you see the Lama performing this mundane activity in a way that you think is not correct. And you have this wish to not quite criticize, but just say, you're not doing this correctly. Excuse me, there's a better way of doing it. So the question was like, is it okay to actually point this out to your Lama that they're not doing this correctly? Okay, so I'm not sure if I missed something in the grammar in the question. Geshe is giving the answer as if you are not doing the worldly activity correctly, and the Lama is correcting you. All right, not that you're correcting the Lama, that the Lama is correcting you. Okay, so actually in the text we have this quotation that says, by using reason, you can present your case. And Geshe says, based on this quotation that we have in the scriptures, I would say that actually it is not a fault, it is not a mistake to say, excuse me, but I don't think that what you are suggesting is a good idea. Right? It is very, so let's say your Lama is telling you to do a particular thing in a particular way, and you think that this is not the proper activity for you, or the method that they are suggesting is not the best. So it is very important with logic and with reasoning. You can stand your ground and you can explain politely and with respect and say, actually, I don't think this is appropriate. Okay, so as long as you do it with reasoning, politely, and without generating wrong view, like losing your faith for your Lama, then there is no problem.
好，那我们现在快到时间了，所以我们先下课。那大家所有的问题，我们都会留到下一堂，再让葛西为我们做解答。Okay, so we have a few other questions, but not enough time today, so we will accumulate the questions for the next session. Thank you for your understanding, and now we can do our dedications together with the understanding that Geshe taught us today. 好，那我们现在可以一起开始的做我们的回向，谢谢。
Oh Oh,